couple of quick questions just about the house, just to make sure that I direct you to the best expert in our team and to give you a cash offer. So may I please have your property address?
123 Main Street.
Oh. Got it, got it. Thank you so much. And well, let us check the condition of the property. Are there any major repairs needed for the property, Anthony?
We've had some issues with the roof leaking, and I know the furnace is on its last leg.
I see, got it, got it. Thank you so much for that. So, just curious, how long have you stayed in the property?
We've owned it.
Or how long have you owned the property?
We've owned it for 20 years.
Oh, wow. Many years. Great, great. Thank you so much. So, Anthony, I think I already have everything I need. Oh, sorry. Just curious here. How much would you get? Any idea what you'd like to get for the house? Like how much will be offered?
Yeah, we were thinking of getting about $120,000 for it.
Okay, I understand. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for all the information. So, what happens next is someone will contact you. Well, one of our home experts will contact you shortly, and they will discuss numbers and set an appointment or ask any question that you may have about the property. So, does that work for you?
Sure does.
Okay, thank you so much, Anthony, for your time, and thank you so much for contacting Anthony and Alicia Real Estate Company. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You did good, Nash. So the one thing, just so there's no confusion, what we call cold calling is somebody who has not contacted us yet to sell their home. You did a really, really good job with the script. Perhaps you guys are doing something a little different where you're contacting somebody who's already inquired about selling their home. So do you ever call somebody who, what we would call cold calling, do you ever call somebody cold who has not asked for a cash offer? Or is everybody that you're calling now, they've already inquired about a cash offer?
All of them actually inquired about a cash offer.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to be clear there because it helps me understand your level of experience. That call doesn't go very differently when you're calling cold. It's just the first sentence or two that would be different. Instead of saying, hey, I'm just following up because you contacted us, you would say, hey, I'm just reaching out to you because we're buying homes in the neighborhood and I was curious if you would be interested in selling. So the rest of the conversation is still the same. It's just those first two sentences, and I wanted to be clear what we call cold calling is a little bit different than what you're doing now. So I appreciate that, Nash. I actually think you did a good job. I loved when you said, wow, that excitement, just getting them to engage helps move them forward in the call and helps them feel comfortable that they want to talk to you. So you did a good job. Thank you.
So Anthony, it's actually more on
offering a cash offer.
Is that more on using? You mentioned about the cold calling. Sorry, is it more on because you mentioned that we will be calling. If ever I would be part of a family, we will be calling needs that was not that does not contacted us, right?
Right.
Got it.
Yes, your statement is accurate. You're calling to offer the cash offer.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Good job, Nash. I appreciate it. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hopefully we'll be in touch.
You too.
All right, and it looks like that's a wrap, Nash. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you on Skype.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you have CJ up next.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
So just to set expectations, of course, as Nash has a current part-time client, she's a lot more experienced than the other folks that we have lined up for you. The next four are relatively new to
That was bad.
Rocket Station, although Amber has had
That was
a little bit
bad.
of time.
Clarify where the cold callers, like we're hiring people that
It's
like.
his business model, and that's why she's working with us. But yeah,
What's the
she might
school's
be a
name?
little bit more nervous, just so you know.
That's okay. So real quick, before we move on, Eric actually had a good question. The majority of these resumes say cold calling. So I'm not sure if you guys had heard my explanation to Nash there about cold calling, and maybe it's a little bit different than what they're doing. What is your definition of cold calling, and are the rest of these folks actually doing the cold calling that we're looking for, or are they following up with leads that have inquired?
So for the cold calling that these VAs had experience with, so after their 4-week training program, they're endorsed to a program called Boot Camp, which is, it serves two purposes. The first is that it's an extension of the training.
Thanks.
And secondly, they get to enhance the skills that they've actually learned within the training period. So within Boot Camp, we support a bunch of different campaigns. And for the cold calling campaigns that we have, there's one I know that is really for properties for sale, so engaging motivation and then endorsing a good lead to the sales team, just like what Nash does on a daily basis.
She didn't do anything.
There are calls where they need to make outbound
What's this girl's name?
to get people to sign up for webinars. You know what I mean? So it really depends on which campaigns they've been exposed to. And what we do is we actually rotate
Is the other
VAs,
interview person
so
up
they
there?
get trained on all the different campaigns that we have in boot camp.
Who's
while
the
their
other
leads
person?
Get hired by a client. So it's a little bit different, but of course provided with the right guidance and just kind of a script on what they're going to be expected to do is going to be really simple, especially since they all came from the call center industry.
So Mina, my name's Eric Brewer. I work with Anthony and Alicia. Hey, how are you?
I actually met you back in the day, but
Oh, really?
it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. Real quickly, with Nash, she seemed pretty nervous. She didn't gauge any motivation on that call. So I guess I just want to be clear about what our expectations are. I would say that Nash would be a project. She's not currently doing cold calling. She's doing inbound, what we would consider inbound. Her script, like a good phone call for us, takes about 10 to 12 minutes as we work through the script, because we're, when I say gauging motivation, that's not like an internal process and a scoring process we do here. We're asking questions of the seller and then follow-up questions to say, oh, like to Anthony's point, wow, you've owned it for 20 years. That's pretty awesome, right? What's prompted you to think about selling? And then you continue down that path until you've exhausted that particular angle. I'm just a little confused because, like, when you talk about the training and stuff, like, unless I missed it, she didn't gauge any motivation.
It really, well, what we informed them of when we had our preparation call was because the role is phones work, there may be a role play in the client interview, but to come prepared with a script that they're familiar with. Some of our other clients would actually send over the script that they want the VA to get familiar with prior to the client interviews. So that's definitely something that we can do if you would prefer it to be done that way. So they're just kind of, we weren't really sure what to expect as far as the interview is concerned. So we just told them, just be ready for potentially a role play so that they can assess what your skills are like on the phone. But we didn't give them any specifications on like what the call had to sound like, just because we weren't provided with a script beforehand. So.
Well, and just to be clear, part of what we talked about in our initial onboarding call was our interest in what you guys were currently using and what was successful. So to be quite frank, I didn't want to give you a script. To me, it should come from you about other people that you're working with that have a script, that have a process that they're actively using. And part of our onboarding process was why Rocket Station over someone else. And quite frankly, we were told because you guys train and onboard and have systems and processes in place where you're already actively doing cold calling and generating results for other clients in this business. So let's take a step back, and I don't want to shift the responsibility to us. And maybe we should reschedule the interview process, because that first one was painful for me. That was sort of a waste of my time. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just being honest. It's too important of a position for us. Like, Nash would fail unless we poured a tremendous amount of time and energy into training her. That's why I'm hiring Rocket Station. So the script shouldn't come from us, and maybe that information wasn't relayed to you, but it was a 15-minute part of Anthony and I's conversation with the gentleman that we spoke with about, I don't want to hire, train, and develop process for cold calling. I want to work with someone that already has proven processes, KPIs, his terminology. I'm aware of it, but we didn't use that. He did. And we would basically just be inheriting all the resources and the experience that you already have. So, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Well, we could totally find another slot. So this is what I'm thinking. Let me get with Jack and with Greg, who you spoke with previously, and check to see if at least the expectations can be laid out a little bit more specifically on, what the expectations of the VAs would be. And I'll send you an update probably in the next couple of hours.
Okay.
I'll meet with them first, and then I'll send all three of you an email. And I'm sorry, Alicia, I don't think that you were included on the email, right? But I'll send over an email to you and Anthony, and let you know what our next steps could be. I'm thinking off the top of my head, we're probably just going to end up rescheduling the client interview, and we will probably have a new batch of candidates for you to interview based on the specifications that you just shared.
So what's different between what I just gave you versus what you had previously?
I think it's really important that at least we are, because at the moment we're just working off of the task list. So just what the expectations of the VA would be, but we didn't go into too much depth about the actual content of the call. So I think that's going to be a really key aspect of making sure that we find the right VAs for you. So we may change, a couple of them might still be on the list, but we'll also make sure to take a look at other potential candidates for you once we kind of refine what those expectations are.
Okay. And you guys use any behavioral profile testing when you, okay, so what do you use?
Currently we use the DISC profile.
Perfect. So we're super familiar with DISC. What DISC profile are you looking for in this position? Let's start there, because I think that's a language that we would share. I think that would ensure that we're on the same page.
Well, right now DISC kind of changed their format, so they don't use the numbers that we're very familiar with. But in my head, if I was going to use the old terminology for DISC, I would probably target people that are pretty high on the DNI for this particular role.
So isn't D, if it's too high, they're going to lose patience?
Possibly.
So it's more of a D would be great on inbound. Yeah, it can't be super low, but it should be a I. It should be a ISDC, super high I. They have to love people. So for me, Nash sounded nice person, really nervous. And whether or not you're reading from a script that you're familiar with or just talking to people, to me, the right person here is going to be just far more confident and comfortable talking to people. Do you agree? And then they need to be patient, because A, you're going to make 100 phone calls and get hung up on 92 times.
Right.
And B, most people aren't going to go, oh, I'm glad you called. Yeah, let's schedule an appointment. Like, you're going to have enough patience to work through, well, let me tell you a little bit about our company. Have you ever considered, like, it's right? C, I would say they don't need much of any, like, process is not super important here. Do you agree? They're not doing data entry. There's like the quality of their work. Like, you don't really need a C.
Yeah, the success that we've had and what we've also been told by our trainer is that it's a medium D, high I, high S, and medium to low
Yeah.
C.
So if you ranked them, it's like I is probably, that's by far the most dominant. I, then S, and then C and D moderate. Like, and if I had to guess, I'd want it ISDC. Like the least valuable thing is process because it's a simple process. You get phone numbers, you call them, and that's it. There's not a whole lot of moving parts. So just to clarify that, like we want superstars on the phones. I don't need people that are super, tech savvy or great with spreadsheets or any of that stuff. They're probably bad at that stuff. I need them to be able to hop on, like the right person you'd be able to call now, tell them they have an interview in 15 minutes with no preparation. They should be able to hop on it and kill the interview. So ISDC is who we're looking for.
Got it. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. Because this is going to help us to at least isolate the candidates that fit this bracket. I'm sure that it might be a little